If you're like us, the holidays are packed with hustle and finding time to cook can feel impossible. Instead of grabbing takeout again, whip up something quick, easy, and budget friendly. These are designed to save you time, effort, and money while still keeping things delicious for your family.
There are nights when we've got plenty of time. I can take my time and make whatever we want to make. And then there are nights like tonight and I just need to get things moving. And this is one of those recipes that work perfectly. You guys know we make a lot from scratch here. But tonight I'm gonna take a little bit of a cheater route to make this recipe. You do not have to use frozen chicken tenders, but these are so good. You can use these frozen chicken tenders, which are so delicious. I've talked about them here before, and then we're just gonna sauce it up and make a recipe to go along with this. This is called Volcano Chicken. Now don't let it scare you because it doesn't have to be super spicy. We are probably gonna add a little bit of heat on ours just because we like it. But let's get started on the sauce because my tenders are actually already in the air fryer. They're gonna take about 8 more minutes. Overall, they take about 14. So we're gonna make the sauce, heat it up, and then mix everything in the sauce. I've also got rice in the rice maker. This couldn't be easier. Honestly, if I had something like broccoli, I would probably mix it in here. But if you don't wanna mix in, you could just make something on the side, like a side salad or something like that. We do that really regularly. Let's start on the volcano sauce. I've got about 2 tablespoons of butter here. Actually, that's closer to 1. Let's add another. Now I need to add some brown sugar, and I need about a 1/2 cup. You guys know, I'm just gonna guesstimate here. These flavors like this, I would say if you like a sweeter sauce, go with a little more brown sugar. If you like a more savory sauce, maybe cut down on the amount of brown sugar. We need about a tablespoon of sriracha. If you want more heat, you can add more of that, but you can also add in red pepper flakes at the end if you really want heat. 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar. I'm gonna go a touch more with that. Just about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, so maybe 2 cloves overall. Now I'm gonna add in some of this Frank's Red Hot. You don't have to add in a hot sauce if you don't want to, especially with that sriracha that's already in there. But I do think that obviously sriracha and hot sauce have 2 separate flavors, and I think that this one adds a different element of flavor to the dish. So let's say, I don't know, maybe 2 tablespoons. I think that will be good for our family, but I would say add whatever you think you can handle, honestly. Okay, we need to add some honey. That's gonna add a little bit more sweetness to this. Let's do about a tablespoon. And then I like to add some onion powder, maybe a teaspoon, just a few sprinkles here. I also like to add garlic powder. Even though we've already added garlic, I do think that that's a brand new one. I do think that I don't know. I mean, you guys know we had garlic powder and onion powder too. I feel like almost everything. And I love adding a touch of paprika for smokiness. And like I said, if you really want to bring the heat, then you should add in some red pepper flakes because it does add great heat to the dish. Okay, I'm just gonna mix all of this together and then we're gonna heat it up over on the stove. Those chicken tenders are almost done, and then we will just cut them up and add them to the sauce and toss everything together. You can see it's looking good, but we need to heat it up. Let's go with a medium heat. That sugar is gonna dissolve, that brown sugar, the butter will melt, and it's gonna make a beautiful sauce. Okay, we are about 3 minutes in and that sugar is nice and dissolved and we have a great sauce. I'm still gonna leave it over here on the stove. The chicken just finished in the air fryer, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that up and turn this heat down on low just so that it will stay nice and warm while we cut up the chicken. Before I grab the chicken, let me explain really quick. You do not have to use frozen chicken breasts. You can do this with chicken breasts or chicken thighs, either one, and you're just gonna coat them in a little bit of flour or cornstarch. You can do a full-on fry if you want to, or you can just do a sear with a little bit of flour or a little bit of cornstarch and add kind of like a crunch to it, then mix it in. It doesn't have to be frozen chicken, so don't think that you have to use that. This is just the shortcut method that we're using tonight to make it come together really fast. Let's just take up this chicken. Look how good this looks, you guys. It comes out so perfectly every single time. We're gonna cut this up into little pieces. This is hot. It is very hot, just came out. I'm just gonna cut it into bite-sized pieces. Use your scissors, your knife, whatever it is that you would like to use. But man, this chicken is just so good. We get ours at Sam's Club, just in case you're curious. And we always have a backup bag in the freezer because we like it that much. One thing I love about this too is that for lunches, this is something the kids can make completely on their own. They can come into the kitchen, go ahead and preheat the air fryer and use it. And I don't have to, that's not something that I have to do for them. So it is very convenient for that. Okay, our rice is working. It's not quite there yet though. I'm gonna eat a piece because it's so good. All right, let's take this over onto the stovetop, mix it all together with that sauce, and just let it sit there for a couple of minutes until we're ready to serve this over rice. While the rice is finishing up, I got a piece out so I could taste test it for you because I want to see how spicy it is. That is good. Already tasted the chicken on camera, you saw that, but let's just get a bite with the rice. It's really good. I love adding the green onion to the top because it adds that pop of color. Anytime you can garnish with something like green onion, thyme, parsley, cilantro, it really helps to elevate a dish. This one is so easy. I started this at, I think it was $4.40 maybe, $4.35, and it's 5:01, and we have to leave at 5:15. Like perfect timing, super fast, easy to do. You guys can make this one so easy if you need a quick meal. We're gonna make a creamy pepperoncini skillet for dinner tonight. It sounds delicious, but we need to prep a few things first. I've got these whole pepperoncini peppers. I'm just gonna slice them a little bit. I would say use however many you like. You can actually leave them whole too. Don't feel like you have to slice them. I just feel like they're gonna be better sliced in this recipe. I'm not even taking all the seeds out. You can be really meticulous and take all of them out. I'm not too concerned about it. It all depends on how much heat you like. I'm just gonna transfer all of this to a bowl. And these are gonna get cooked over on the stovetop in a few minutes. Let's get rid of the trash here. And then we're gonna cut our chicken into strips. I have a pound of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. I'm gonna cut these into strips. You guys know I always go through and cut any fatty pieces off. But I'm making these pretty decently thin strips, probably 1/2 inch. Everything is prepped and ready to go. So let's season our chicken with some salt and pepper. Always try and season from up high when you're working like this, because then even though you're gonna get some on the counter and on the floor, you're going to prevent, or at least mostly prevent, getting big clumps of salt in one area. Now we're gonna take a little bit of pepper. And let's take this over to the stove where we're gonna saute this in a pan. I'm gonna turn my heat on to a medium-ish and put a little bit of oil into the pan. My oil is nice and hot, so I'm gonna add in just a little sliver of butter. You can really add up to like 2 tablespoons. Just get that melty. And then we will add in the chicken and let that chicken start to sear. Now, I might need to do this in batches just to make sure we get good sear on all of it. Now keep in mind, the goal here is not to cook these all the way through. It's just to add flavor and sear off the outer edges. So I did add a little bit of paprika. I do think that that adds such a beautiful flavor when you're searing chicken. These are about done. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the next batch because they're gonna cook again once we make our sauce. And I already did add paprika to the next batch. I don't know what I was thinking before. All of my chicken is cooked. Now I've turned my pan down to a low because I wanna make sure that we don't burn this next step. We're gonna add in some garlic. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna add a touch of chicken broth or bone broth to my pan just to kind of deglaze it a little bit. Add a little bit of garlic, about a tablespoon. Let's do that. And let's saute that. So now I can go back up with my heat a bit. I'm going to a medium low just so we don't burn this. Now, obviously, if you're adding onion, this is also where you would want to do that. It's only gonna take about 2 minutes or so. That garlic is nice and toasted. I'm adding in right around 1/4 cup of chicken stock. And also all those peppers. Okay, we're just gonna let these kind of saute a little bit. If I need to add a little bit of butter in here, I will. But I'm on a medium to a medium high heat right now. And I'm just gonna let those work for just a couple of minutes. Not only are the vegetables nice and soft now, or the pepper, it's softened up a bit, our sauce has also reduced by about half. So we're gonna go ahead and turn the heat off. Now, I'm using half and half, but you can use heavy cream. I'm gonna add about a 1/2 cup and slowly just start to whisk that in. Might do a little more than a 1/2 cup just as I look at this. I could have used my smaller pan. So you can go up to a cup. Now a cup is probably more for 2 pounds of meat, but I wanna make sure we have a good amount of sauce because, that's half the fun here. Now we're gonna slowly bring this back up to a medium heat. So I'm gonna start at low. While it's on low and the heat is still almost off at this point, I'm going to add in some Parmesan cheese. This is shaved Parmesan, about a 1/4 cup, but again, this is another one. You wanna incorporate slowly so that nothing clumps together, breaks apart. Nothing worse than working hard on something like this and then your Parmesan cheese clumping all together and ruining the entire thing. So I always like to add slow. Now I'm gonna add in a little bit of Italian seasoning. And then we're gonna add back in the chicken. Just let that chicken reheat through. Still on a low. I am gonna take it up to a medium here as soon as I put that chicken back in and let everything come up to temperature. This is gonna be so good. I love pepperoncini peppers. Now, if the sauce seems to thicken too much, add in a little bit more bone broth, just a little bit, or chicken broth, and then you can kind of thin it out, letting the chicken come up to that temperature. I'm gonna be serving mine over mashed potatoes. I'm assuming my kids will probably eat the mashed potatoes on the side, but I have that available, ready to go. And just look, this is gonna be so good. You could serve this over rice, noodles. This looks and smells delicious. Now that's great flavor. I topped it with just a little bit more Parmesan cheese and some fresh thyme because you guys know fresh thyme is my favorite right now. This is so good. I love the little pepperoncinis. The sauce is fantastic. I do think it'd be good with roasted bell peppers too. In my opinion, this packs the perfect amount of flavor, heat, everything. This is a winner. We're making a butter garlic chicken. This is about a 15-minute meal if you make it with rice. I'm making ours with potatoes tonight, and because of that, it might take a little bit longer. All right, I've decided. We're gonna make it in a pan, and I'm actually just going to cut them and put them directly into the pan rather than getting another bowl out. So we're just taking these potatoes. I'm gonna cut off the little eye here. A lot of them have it. And let's just cut it into bite-sized pieces. So obviously, depending on which kind of potato you're using, will determine the amount that you have to cut each one. So like I said, if you wanna make this really quick, throw some rice in your rice maker, and then the only thing you're concerned about is the actual chicken part of the meal, which is the garlic butter chicken. We're gonna use the same spices and flavors on the potatoes as we are the chicken. So everything will kind of work together. And also I'm adding broccoli to this so that we have a vegetable in it, and it's just gonna be all together, just all the flavors working together. And I'm thinking we'll probably serve it bowl style. Those are they're so easy. For the potatoes, I'm gonna take some of this minced garlic and add that. I'm gonna add some basil. This is probably a teaspoon or so. Same with oregano, about a teaspoon. We like good flavor, so this should be no surprise if you've been here for a while. And paprika for color and smokiness. I probably should have ordered more paprika. We fly through it. Okay, we do need a pinch of salt. And then I'm gonna add a touch of oil, probably only a half teaspoon. Let's get those nice and coated. Okay, so we're just gonna get the oil and all those flavors all over the potatoes, but I am gonna be putting some bone broth in here. I actually really love to cook our potatoes on the stove in bone broth. And there's a couple different reasons. It adds extra protein because bone broth is high in protein, but it also kind of makes a little bit of a sauce. So these aren't gonna be crispy potatoes. These are gonna be softer potatoes. You can crisp them up at the end if you want to, but it's just a preference of ours that, I don't know, it's just a different texture. It's not a mashed potato, but it's also not a crunchy potato. If we need some extra protein in a meal, I feel like that's often the thing that I'll do. Let's start with about a half cup and kind of see where that goes. We will put a lid on this so it can help just kind of steam everything. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these started because they do take a little bit longer, probably 20 to 25 minutes. The chicken does not take quite as long, so we'll get started on this. So let's do right about a medium heat and put that lid on. I do want to add some color to this meal, so we're gonna add some broccoli, and I'm going to put it over here in this bowl, or the one right in front of me. I'll make sure we add some flavor to it. I don't want them to be too big, so I'm making sure, I don't want to be too small either because they break apart really easy if they're too small, but enough that they're, bite-sized pieces. Also, if you're ever wondering what to do with the broccoli stalk, you can make broccoli slaw out of that, and it's really good. So if you have a meal like this where you're using just the, what is this part called? Crown, where you're using mostly just the crown, you can use your cheese grater and make broccoli slaw with the stalk. I'm using chicken thighs tonight. This can absolutely be done with chicken breasts, but overall, this is a pretty lean meal. With the exception of the oil and the butter, but we're keeping that to a minimum. But I feel totally comfortable adding the thighs just because everything else is a little bit more lean. So you can do either, add whichever you prefer. I think this was 4 thighs that I've cut into bite-sized pieces, and I've got some flour here in my flour shaker. I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons. The same spices that we added to the potatoes. So some basil, maybe about a half teaspoon, some oregano, about a half teaspoon of that as well. Some paprika, same thing, about a half teaspoon. Well, that's a little more, but that's okay. And then we need to add some, what is that called? Why can I not think of words? Garlic, minced garlic. Add some minced garlic. Because this is garlic butter or butter garlic chicken. So we gotta have garlic, obviously. Oh, salt. Gotta have salt. Toss this all together, getting all those flavors all over the chicken. And I'm gonna cook this over on the stovetop once I feel like we are close with the potatoes because those can kind of just sit and simmer and they'll be okay. I also want to add a little bit of flavor here to the broccoli. So just a little bit of salt. I haven't decided, you can put them in with the potatoes or you can put them in with the chicken once it's almost done. So either way is fine. It's gonna pick up the flavors of everything that's in the pan. I might end up just tossing them in with the potatoes in a second. And honestly, the more I think about it, you can make this a one-pot meal if you want. Cook everything, cook the potatoes in one pot, take them out, cook the chicken, throw all of that back in, and then toss in the broccoli and let it cook for an additional 2 to 3 minutes, and you're good. I kind of want to assemble them separately, so I'm gonna bake them, or I'm cooking them separately. All right, our potatoes are actually about done at this point, so let's get this chicken cooking. I'm gonna turn my heat on to a medium-high and just add a touch of oil to the pan. Oil is hot, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in the butter and let that melt. Should happen pretty quickly, about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half. If you're not adding broccoli, then I would keep it closer to a tablespoon. We're gonna put this chicken in and spread it out as much as possible. And we're gonna let it just be in here for 3 to 4 minutes, then come back and flip it. You don't really wanna mess with it so it can get some good flavor. So leave it just like that for just a couple minutes, then we'll flip. Over here on this side, the potatoes are done cooking. So I'm just gonna toss in the broccoli and just kind of let that steam up in there while we finish up the chicken. Let's see what we're looking like here. If we've got good color yet. Okay, it's starting. I still wanna leave it just a bit longer. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this because I mean, look at that. That looks good. That is what you want to see. Oh my goodness. Okay, y'all, at the last second, I really kind of wish that I had put the broccoli in here because it would absorb that leftover butter flavor. So do as I say, not as I do. Fortunately, I can just pick it out because it's big enough pieces. But I want it to get some of that flavor on there. So we're just gonna throw it in here in the last couple seconds of cooking and let it go. We're developing a new thing here, okay? So just work with me. Hopefully you're not cooking along with me. You're cooking after I do this. So we're just really letting that broccoli soak up any of the last bit of the butter and the seasonings that were kind of at the bottom of the pan. So you can see the chicken got a lot of it. I mean, look at that beautiful color. But this way, the broccoli will get whatever's left, adding to that flavor.
The chicken looks awesome.
Yeah,
it's
the chicken
glistening.
looks amazing. I'm trying the chicken first.
Flavor on those potatoes is awesome. And it's thighs, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. That chicken is good.
Man.
The chicken is really good.
That is delicious.
Are you scraping the broccoli off of the chicken?
I wanted to show just the chicken.
Oh, okay. Thought you just were gonna
No.
see the broccoli.
I'm not going to eat another bite because that's your
Yeah, that's my
your
plate.
platter. Don't want to take any more of yours.
It's really good though.
Yeah.
And I really like potatoes cooked this way, cooked in the bone broth. So they're kind of steamed, but then once the bone broth is done, it puts a little bit of a saute on them. What is it called? Sears it almost a little bit. Yeah. But yeah.
Instead of just mushy, you have that outside sear.
It was really good.
That's delicious. What's the seasoning on the broccoli?
Salt. Well, then I cooked it in what the chicken was cooked in. So there's butter and stuff on it.
So there's a chance.
There's a chance. This is one of those meals though that really the chicken comes together in minutes. So the longest part of this meal is chopping and cooking the potatoes. If you can.
But did you let the chicken sit in a marinator or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just flour and stuff. If you can prep the potatoes ahead of time, then you can have this meal done in 15 minutes easily. So just chop everything early, and then when you're ready to go cook, you've got a 15-minute meal.
Our verse today comes from Luke 2, 6 through 7. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful Christmas week. If you would like to see more content just like this, or you need more easy recipes, check out the video that I have just above here. This one is going to give you some of our favorites. Have a great week and Merry Christmas.